Now we've come to transforming difficulties into the path. So it's more or less the same thing. It's taking difficult circumstances and turning them into a means of practicing or generating, familiarizing oneself with bodhicitta. Even if a person for whom you've cared like your own child regards you as an enemy, cherish them especially like a mother does for her child who is stricken by sickness. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. This is something that's quite difficult for us because in general we do things looking for some kind of payback or reward. Even when we're doing something without expecting some kind of remuneration, right? Getting some payment for it, some kind of transaction. Often we do things because we want to be seen to be good. We want to be seen to be good in other people's eyes. And so we're expecting from them to gain some kind of respect, or perhaps in the future for them to give us some kind of payback. And so when we do positive things for others, and then they turn around and they throw it in our face, it's really intolerable. It's very difficult for us to deal with. It's something that we become very easily triggered by. Something that's specific to a bodhisattva, and this is ordinary bodhisattvas and noble bodhisattvas. As nominal or aspirational bodhisattvas, we aspire towards this, but for true bodhisattvas, then there's two things they don't work for. They don't do an act, a bodhisattva act, expecting to get some kind of payback. And also they don't do it expecting to receive the karmic results in future. So either reward or ripening. They never engage in something like generosity or loving kindness with the thought that I might get something in return for this, or that I might in the future get a positive rebirth. And so often people ask this question. It's like, if you're just doing bodhicitta, because bodhicitta is something that's going to help you become enlightened, isn't it actually a selfish act? But the point is that somebody who is applying themselves to the bodhisattva path doesn't do it for their own benefit. There's something that's called the two benefits, benefit of self and benefit of other. And these are synonymous with the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya. Remember I said there is the Dharmakaya, which is the realization that it resides in the mind of a Buddha, and there's the Formkaya, the Rupakaya, that manifests for the benefit of beings. So a bodhisattva works for the two benefits, that is, to become a Buddha, but for the sake of liberating all sentient beings who are suffering in the 6 realms of samsara. So although they are doing it for results, those results are not for their benefit. Because they understand, ultimately, in order to be able to help beings on a very profound level, then oneself has to gain profound spiritual knowledge. And ultimately, to become a Buddha. So the Bodhisattvas aren't doing this for gain and reward. There's another problem, because in the West we've heard all about non-duality, Advaita Vedanta and all these sorts of things. And in there it says you shouldn't be goal-oriented, you shouldn't be working for results. And it's true. I mean, ultimately, when it comes to it, there is a mental abiding, a meditation in which we must abandon all results. But for beginners, we need some kind of goal. We need to have motivation, right? That's not a bad thing. Eventually, as I said in a previous video, then all narratives need to be abandoned. The good ones and the bad ones, both. But provisionally, on our level, we have to have something to work with. And that's why we work with relative bodhicitta, right? So we perceive sentient beings. For us, they're real. There's no point in pretending that we think like Lama Berry here doesn't exist, right? To me, he appears. I experience him every day. I talk to him. We conceptually understand that these beings are empty in nature, but until we've realized that nature, then there's no way for us to practice that authentically. So we need a goal. And that's why we practice relative bodhicitta. That's what this is about. So when you've been helping somebody out, and you sort of bring them food every day, or you loan them money, and then they turn around and they do something to let you down, it's going to trigger you, it's going to affect you. But as an aspirational bodhisattva, what you need to do is remember ultimately there's no benefit in me giving rise to anger. So instead, what should I do? I should try to follow in the footsteps of Gyaltsen Togme. Even if a person for whom you've cared like your own child regards you as an enemy, cherish him specially. Cherish him especially, like a mother does for her child who is stricken by sickness. So this stricken by sickness is really important. Of course, normally a mother cares for their child, but especially when that child is suffering or ill. They wouldn't get angry, right? If the child has a fever and they say all kinds of crazy things like, "Mommy, I hate you," that mother never loses their love for that child. They know that they're sick. And it's the same way. We have to understand that ordinary sentient beings who are trapped in samsara, especially those who haven't entered the path, are like little children who are afflicted deeply by their negative emotions. And because of their affliction, then they act in negative ways. And the way they're acting will only cause them to suffer more in future lifetimes. So rather than getting angry with them, it should be a source of us giving rise to compassion. Like, oh no, this person is laying down the seeds for their future suffering in future times. Especially if you yourself are a spiritual practitioner. If you cause obstacles for a spiritual practitioner, or if you truly become a bodhisattva and that person derides you or harms you, then it's very negative karma. So this is a really difficult point because many Buddhists, Mahāyāna Buddhists, they hear about this stuff and they get it completely the wrong way around, right? So we feel sorry for them because we see that their actions out of ignorance will cause them to suffer in future, and then we have great love and compassion for them, right? But what you hear a lot of kind of Mahāyāna Buddhists who say, well, I'm a bodhisattva now, they've heard all this stuff, but they don't believe it. So, like somebody does something wrong to me, or, we have an argument with somebody, and they say something, you say, oh, you're right, I'm wrong. Because I'm a bodhisattva, I'm supposed to, admit that I'm wrong and you're right, even if you're wrong. But in their mind, they're thinking, well, you're wrong, but I'm better than you because I'm a Buddhist. Right? It's exactly the wrong way around. It's not like, oh, poor thing. They're getting angry. That's really bad. It's like, I'm better than you. I'm not getting angry. But in my mind, it's like, you're terrible. Right? So you have to watch out for this hypocrisy. And especially this is a big problem when people come to the spiritual path. Because they just emulate. Right? Like I say, when you come in, I don't expect you to bow down. Certainly not to me, but not even to the shrine. You have to work out in your own head what it's about. And then when you do make that decision to adopt a practice, for you that will be honest. It will be authentic. But if you just copy what everybody else is doing, then you'll come into the shrine and you'll be like, thinking about something else and it's meaningless. Or other people will think, well, why are you bowing down to this guy? What is this? Some kind of personality cult? This sort of thing. This is where the problem comes from. Because from our own side, we've not been honest with ourselves. So if you wish to practice the path of the Bodhisattva, then you need to be honest with yourself. You need to recognize your own negativities, but also put things into context. Ultimately, although I don't like it if somebody is ingrateful towards me, that ultimately me getting angry with them doesn't help the situation. And not only that, that person's negative actions will bounce back on them alone. And if we truly have care and concern for other sentient beings, then that means that we should feel sorry for them. We should have this love and compassion for them.